What's up everyone, Blade here, and welcome back to another video of P5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going over pretty much my feelings on what's been happening on TWKR and CN, and this is going to be the power creep issue. Now, to be honest, it's not truly an issue, but I want to explain how this does work, because a lot of you guys inside the comment sections do find it way more of an issue than I do. And I have my various opinions on it. We're going to go over that today, but we're also going to try to deep dive into like how things really do work on P5X to explain how everything's going. So if you guys are interested in the video, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I may fade in some like cuts and stuff, as well as some editing. Haven't really felt it today. I've been very like wishy-washy. I wouldn't really say sick, but I have kind of been down in the dumps, so unsure what's up right now. I'm trying to at least get my my mood up a little bit and just do a video. I think that'll make me feel a little bit better, so we'll see what happens. But that out of the way, let's go ahead and just get straight to it. So for at least TWKR and CN, you guys have seen the absolute menace that has been going around, and that has been on Starlight. Now, on Starlight has brought up a lot of type of aspects here, has brought up a lot of thoughts, and this is some thoughts even for me, where it feels like a heavy power creep. But the word power creep isn't really what we would end up using, I guess, in this situation. It kind of is, because either way, no matter how you're looking at it, it is somewhat a damage just creep in general. But the best way I can explain this is, for this game, necessarily it's not a power creep in the opinion of making other characters invalidated. That is something that P5X builds itself on, and this is where I want to try to explain on P5X's identity, where P5X itself, when you look at other characters, they do get buffed. They usually have their mindscapes. They usually are always being able to be used in some form or fashion. Sure, it may not be in meta side of things, but you are able to use them generality inside of different events, inside of obviously different little game modes that they put out, and they make that at least very apparent. Now, when we look at the meta side, yes, this is hardcore power creeping, and that's where a lot of things get kind of wishy-washy and convoluted, but that's how it usually is, especially with a lot of meta related game modes. Luckily for us, the only ones that are there is like Guild Boss as well as SOS, in which those game modes themselves, they don't really give all too much. They have some, of course, benefits to them, but nothing that is absolutely finite to just make you be like, oh, you didn't pull for this character, well then you're out of here. So that's one of the good things about this. So the power creep explanation, the best way to explain it is, does it exist? Yes. Does it harm this game? Not really. Now, there have been some situations that has this happened, which I'm not going to really talk about, because of course, obviously that's a whole different video. We've had an example of Miku, and then of course Anj, which by the way did not kill Anj, keep that in mind. And then of course we've had like some issues with the twins, but that's for different vids. That is a whole different time period. But for the power creep in itself, necessarily it doesn't really harm this game. And let me try to explain this in the best way I can. Power creep situation usually is Xing out a whole character entirely and pretty much forcing the user to get the newest unit. If you don't have that newest unit, you pretty much can't do anything for the patch. Now, we see this in games like HSR back in the day, especially when Apocalyptic Shadow was out. We saw it a lot during that time period for HSR. Now, I haven't been on HSR for about a year, so I don't know how it is now, but the last time I was on there was like Casterus, Maide, in which those characters were insanely good. And then later down like a couple months, if you didn't have certain things like their dedicated person, immediately character got power crept. If you didn't have like a dupe of the character, they immediately got power crept. Same was with Acheron after her time period. If you just did not have her at E3 at first, I believe it was like, if you didn't have her E3 or E4, she immediately, you just couldn't use the character. It was just null and void. You can't really do much about it. And it was for one of the game modes. Now, this game is a little bit different, mainly because when it comes down to how this works is not only are we getting buffs for our units, but when they usually get rid of a character or essentially power creep them to doom, it's usually after a year. Now, we've seen this already. We've known how this goes, and this is obvious with different characters, where we have characters like Futaba. With the few navies that we do have, we no longer use Futaba as much, mainly because we have just better navies. They just do things better. It's been a good year and a half. She had her run. Will she probably come back with a Mindscape? Maybe. But even then, she had her run for a long while, and then she just disappeared, right? Now we have certain characters such as like, let's go ahead and use our newest example, Makoto Yuki. Still amazingly good, still insanely good. Still, I want to say a high tier character. The only issue is after a good year now, and now we're getting someone who has a different damage spike, which is obviously going to be on. Now, this essentially is leading me to the next topic, which is how P5X works on their version updates. When they have their heavy version updates, we've noticed that, or at least I definitely have noticed that, they come out with a giant just damage up or technicality up, whatever you really want to call it. Pretty much the characters get more technical, they have way more gimmicky stuff, and they just become absolute juggernauts. And what I mean by this, we saw this first time for 4.0 where Ange came out. Once she ended up coming out here, immediately everything changed. Obviously, our Navi shifted. Obviously, teams started to change. She literally revolutionized a bunch of different characters to be good again, being like, what's it called, Joker. We had On, who if you had A6 before, of course, mental images existed, who if you had A6 was outdoing some characters such as like Rin Lion Dance if she did not have like A2 or like I think it was A1. We had different characters that went alongside of her with Makoto Yuki, where other single target characters just went null and void. And I mean this in damage wise. The cool part about P5X is a character truly doesn't fully disappear, at least until their same classification is there and their same element. Now, essentially, you would think this is the same for Makoto Yuki in the Starlight On situation. Inside of meta, yes. Inside of regular events or like regular just like content as usual, no. Main reason for this is because they do keep in mind that there are casual player bases in here, and they try to make sure that people are able to clear what you want to clear. Now, when it does come down to the meta side, I think that is something that you just can't really control. Let's be honest, you guys. If you're playing for meta, if you're playing to be in most of the top, like let's say you want to stay in 8-star. First of all, 8-star is very hard to stay in at times, especially if you are not spending a little bit or if you're investing into the right characters. So it more likely leads you to start to drive to meta. That is one of the few things that happens with 8-star. It just happens all the time. And 7-star is usually where a lot of people are kind of deviating in, where they can hit 8-star, but they go back to 7. Or either they stay in 7-star, can never leave 6, or at least never go down to 6. So this here is not what they did with Starlight and Makoto Yuki. Essentially, yes, it is a power creep jump, but it isn't a power creep where the character's just immediately gone, or at least gone from the entire game. No, he is gone from the meta, but he isn't gone from the entire game. And it's also the way that Makoto Yuki has himself built, where you have various different teams, various different units that all derive off of loving to be used inside of Makoto Yuki's team. Makes him pretty dang awesome. And I think this is what's going on right now. Instead of like it being just a straight up power creeping area, I think what's going on right now is more of the version type deal. 4.0 obviously had a huge damage type just jump. So now where we're at now, we're getting another one of those damage jumps that is insane. We've already been seeing it recently. Let's not act like the Starlight Joker is just not the best buffer, debuffer, and somewhat damager to an extent with some of the damage he can end up pulling off. Yeah, sure, it takes him 2 turns to do it, but hey, that man still is cranking out damage that he really shouldn't be doing, and as a buffer and debuffer, you know what I'm saying? So this is more of a version type deal. We're finally getting into the next phase of P5X, and the next ceiling zone for at least the damage side of things. Now, my thoughts on the situation. I am very weirded by it, right? Now, only reason why I say that is because I can see the version side, right? I can see how things are going with the version jump and everything, and it was just like I originally saw it, where it gets me stoked. The only issue is those numbers are getting very high for very little. Essentially, Makoto Yuki, even at the lowest point, was doing very high numbers, but we still had characters like Kasumi, right, who was able to deal like some crazy high number, but you had to take a lot of setup for it. This is little different, because even with the lowest amount of setup for she starts off the first round doing 500k, and my on isn't even crazy built yet, so you can see where I'm going with this, right? She starts off level 8 talents, nothing really going with her, 500k minimum, and it builds to be like turn by turn in the millions and millions, and then tens of millions, right? And it starts to be a little bit crazy until it's like hitting the highest I've hit so far. It's like 50 mil on A0R0, full A0R0 team besides my Navi, right? That scares me a little bit, and it's not because I think it's going to be horrible, but it's because of the thought process that I hope the game doesn't go into HP sponge mode. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the game's going to be hard. Let's be honest. They like to make sure a lot of people love to have fun. They like to make sure a lot of people are able to enjoy their characters and such, so they try to make the newer characters a little bit overpowered as well, to at least combat anything that's in front of you. But I do worry about some of the older characters, you know, because yes, they make a lot of content that is meant to be beaten for everybody, but as long as the events stay the way they are and they don't become HP spongy, then people can continue doing what they've been doing, and power creep doesn't essentially affect anything. What I worry is if they end up making the events HP spongy, and now people technically cannot use their older units unless they are powered up to an extreme degree. Kind of like how we have Yusuke, who got absolutely powered up like crazy for having his A6 and his level 100 mental image. They would pretty much have to do that with older units in order to combat like an HP sponge related event. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I worry about. If they do something like that, then that's going to be kind of scary, because essentially you won't be able to use your older units anymore. But this is mainly on the worst topic, of course. So far from what we've seen in the past, they try to stay away from their HP sponge type deals. They do have some things. That's usually your ranking side of stuff. Like once you get to the actual ranking type events, that's usually where the HP sponges come in. But they've done pretty much a good job on just events being straight up just events and not HP sponge to death. So as long as they keep what's going on, I don't think the power creep situation is going to be a problem. But I do want to know what you guys think. Do you find it a little bit of a problem already? Are you afraid that it could be a problem, or are you not afraid? Currently right now, I don't feel like the game really has any malice to at least making things power creepy. It just makes me a little scared to think about the events in the future. But as long as they keep things how they've been going and still allow us to use our older characters in general use, I don't really see a problem with it. We got people clearing stuff with Bowie, heck, which is kind of crazy, and not the new one. I'm talking about the older one. So it honestly just comes down to what they decide to do here. But once again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be editing this. Who knows? You guys have probably been looking at my wonder stare at the screen like he's some maniac for the entire time. But we'll see exactly what happens. Till then, everybody, thank you for watching the video, and have a nice day.